Hello, welcome back, Lenz's Comic Corner, classics slash non-classics. This is episode number 251 and Doubleshot. Yes, Doubleshot. Number 183. Okay, first up, it is Superman Unchained. This trade collects the entire 9-issue miniseries plus Superman Unchained #1 director's cut. Now, before I talk about the story, I've got to talk about the thing's problems when this series first came out. First, when the series first started, it was released as part of the celebration of Superman's 75th anniversary 3 years ago. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Okay, its biggest problem was the fact that this was the only book that had the 75th anniversary of Superman, the logo for it, on the book. No other book published by DC Comics at the time actually did that. I have honestly no idea why DC did this for, and yet, in coinciding with Superman's anniversary, they gave him a logo, this limited series. They gave him apparently a short and a film. That's it. That's all they did with it. For Batman's anniversary, he got limited. He got a weekly series, a fancy logo, which appeared on every single book published by DC Comics, unlike the 75th anniversary of Superman, and he got a short. That's it. Now, the other problem with the series was the fact not only because this was the only series that featured the 75th anniversary logo, which is actually not in this book at all, was the fact the series suffered through heavy delays. I'm not kidding. It took almost like a year and a half just to release 9 issues. Now, there is a reason for this. Scott Snyder is not to blame for this. Jim Lee is the problem. You see, whenever Jim Lee is put onto an assignment, because of, in the case of All-Star Batman Robin, which is still not been completed this very day, the reason for the delays was because Jim Lee takes a long time to draw a page. Yeah, it takes him a long time. I mean, yes, his artwork is gorgeous. And that's the reason why the book was delayed, because he took his sweet time to come out with the artwork. I'm also kind of worried for the Suicide Squad series, which he's going to do. He's going to be one of the artists for it. That when it comes for his turn to do a particular issue, is the book going to suffer through delays? The guy has a reputation for being, somewhat being very lazy. Not Rob Liefeld bad, just kind of lazy. The guy is a good artist, and he's a better artist than Rob Liefeld is, but his artwork has gotten a little bit better over the years. It's not as bad as it was back in the 90s. Jim Lee's artwork has definitely improved over the years. It's gotten better and better every time he does it. Now, DC was promoting, about a couple years ago, they were promoting the so-called Dream Team of Jeff Johns and Armini Jr. Good writer, not that popular of an artist. This is the real Dream Team. Scott Snyder and Jim Lee. This is a Dream Team that should have been done years ago. Now, in the case of Scott Snyder, he has written Superman before he did this series, because he wrote Swamp Thing, and Superman appeared in the very first issue. He wrote the character really well. That's probably the reason why he was allowed to write this series. Jim Lee obviously had already drawn before, thanks to drawing him in the pages of Justice League. But now, the one thing unique about this series is that you have Superman's supporting cast in the series. You have Perry White, Lois Lane, and Jim Olsen. Does Cat Grant show up in here? Or Cattopolis? Nope. It's all Daily Planet. There's no reference to Cattopolis at all, Clark Cattopolis at all. I don't really understand why that is. Now, the main villain is called Wrath, and he appears in all 9 issues. He doesn't skip an issue. Oh, Lex Luthor himself shows up in this series. Let me show you some artwork. Yeah, gorgeous artwork by Jim Lee, who also happened to be one of the founding partners of Image. He's actually since left the company and become co-publisher of DC Comics. Now, the guy is a good artist. He's not that good of a businessman. Go figure. But nothing against the guy, but the guy is a good artist. Um, the story is about this guy Wrath, who apparently has been working for the country for the past 75 years, coincide with this adventure of Superman. So he's been there since World War II, and he's been sort of defending the planet. Now he, like Superman, is the only survivor of his home world, though Superman is actually one of a handful of people who survived his world. Though he's the only guy to survive. General Lane shows up in this series, and like he's known and depicted, he is a complete dick. Yes, General Samuel Lane is a complete dick. He has been this way since after Crisis on Infinite Earths. So basically, for the past 30 years, he's always been portrayed as a dick. Heck, even the guy who portrays him on Supergirl portrays him like a dick as well. But they kind of toned that down after this first couple appearances. Here, the dick level is basically just turned to skyrocketing level. The guy is a complete jerk. And he disrespects Superman almost every time he speaks to the guy. Yeah, it's like, oh, this guy's classified, stuff like that. That's normally how he's been depicted. And from what I've read, General Lane actually used to be a farmer during the Silver Age of comics. They made him a military officer post-Crisis. And made him a dick too. Though he was one of the main antagonists of the New Krypton storyline, but this is not New Krypton, this is the New 52, and you have Superman in his costume. Now, this series is great. Don't get me wrong, it's a great series. And this trade, one thing that is good about this trade is that it collects pretty much every single variant cover that this series published during its during the course of 9 issues being published. I mean, I think that these variant covers were finished before the actual issues. I mean, the variant covers here are done by Bruce Timm, Dave Johnson, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Neil Adams, Dan Jurgens, Jerry Orway, pretty much almost every single known artist, to name a few. I don't want to disrespect any of the artists who actually have variant covers here. Pretty much almost every single artist who actually has drawn Superman over the years who is still alive. Well, Curtis Swan has since passed away, but at the time the series came out, every single Superman artist who was still alive drew a variant cover. I got hand in DC Comics. That was a brilliant stroke of genius to do a bunch of variant covers for the series. So you have to basically, whoever getting the regular covers, you have a bunch of variant covers. I mean, each cover had about 4 different ones. I mean, issue 1 had issue 1 had at least 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 8 variant covers. Pretty much each issue had 8 different variant covers. Some had about 2 or 3, but the first issue had the most with 8. But this is really good. I highly recommend this specifically to Superman fans. You would really enjoy this. And some people tend to wonder though, why couldn't Scott Snyder, the regular writer for the Superman books, just write Superman as well as write Batman? I have no idea. I mean, the Superman book is going to be taken over by Peter J. Tomasi for Rebirth. And this is just really good. 9 out of 10. High recommendation. You try to get a chance to find this thing. It may be a limited series, but it's really good. It's actually, I think it was the first one that the DC ever tried to publish for it, because Batman's had several over the past few years. Next up is a series that actually was not published by the New 52. This was published, let's see. This series came out 16 years ago, and it's written by Mike Mignola of Hellboy. And yeah, Mike Mignola is the writer, along with Richard Pace. Now, the art style is very similar to that of the Hellboy comics. Now, pretty much the whole point of this series is that you have Batman in the 1920s, just solving crimes, doing whatever he does, basically. The whole point of this is basically Batman fighting crime in the 1920s. Pretty much during, the Roaring 20s, not the Depression. Yeah, everything is perfectly fine. The series itself is only 3 issues long, and I'm actually quite surprised that this particular series, Batman, the Doom that came to Gotham, warrants its own trade, because normally 3-issue miniseries don't usually get their own trade, unless of course they try to squeeze in a one shot or two, just fill this thing out. But this thing is remarkably really short, and it's a pretty breezy read. Now, it's simply, you can picture this like Lobster Johnson, which is actually one of Mike Mignolet's best works for the Hellboy universe. It's similar to that, but unlike Lobster Johnson, which took place in the 1940s, this takes place in the 1920s. Now, it has a similar tone to it. I've read some Lobster Johnson comics, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, he pretty much fights a lot of the classic Batman. The Batman does fight a lot of his classic roles, like Mr. Freeze. I believe Bane shows up in here as well. Let's see. Oh, there's a few others. Here's a sample of some of the artwork in here done by. Let's see. The artwork in here is done by Troy Nixie. Yeah, it's a great noir style artwork, and I love this art style. Now, do I consider this possibly one of the best Batman Elseworlds stories? Yes. Because it's just so good. I mean, yes, it's not present-day Batman. It's something on another Earth. And I'm surprised that for Grant Morrison's Multi-University, he never actually tried to visit this Earth. And I don't know if it's actually part of the 52 alternate Earths. It's completely unknown. But apparently, according to the series, the Waynes died 20 years before the events of the series, which means they died in the early 1900s, like between 1900 and 1910, during that time period. And this is the Roaring it's 1928. So they probably died in 1908, which is okay, fine. I mean, there's no really historic thing happening, unlike, let's say, Gotham at Gaslight, where you have Batman take on Jack the Ripper. This one is just Batman transported to the 20s with his rogues, fighting them, and does normal stuff, a lot of detective work in here, and the series has got great pacing with it. And interesting story too. His story is well, you can actually say this is kind of like Batman's. It has a very the book itself has a very similar feel to it of Batman Year One. You can definitely say it's Batman Year One told in the 20s and written by Mike Mignolet. That's the best way to put it. I do recommend. This is just really good. I do give a recommendation for this one. The book itself is pretty cheap. It's only $16.99. So it should be pretty simple to get. The book itself was only released just, I think it was just recently that was released. It was released just last year. Now, Mike Mignolet does the covers. All the covers done by him, but the interior artwork is done by Troy Nixie. Now, don't get me wrong. Mike Mignolet is both a good writer and artist, but I don't think he'd be good enough to do. I mean, there's some books I have seen his interior artwork work really well. He doesn't do it that much. I think he's more focused on just doing the cover art and just writing a particular book. I mean, he's writing like a bunch of series for Dark Horse. Series like Hellboy in Hell, which comes out when Mike Mignolet's finished with it. BPRD, Ape Sapien, Witchfinder, Baltimore. And I think that's it. Basically, all the comics he writes right now is for Dark Horse. And they're all really good. This is good as well. And I give this book a 9 out of 10. Try to find it if you can. I mean, yes, it's a year old, but shouldn't be that hard to track down. It should be pretty affordable, too. I'm actually quite surprised DC charts that much for me. Normally, books like that, usually they would charge maybe $20 maybe, but 17? Okay, that's a bit unusual. The Golden Age, that trade, regular price for that was only $20. I paid like half price for it, but Actually, it was an early birthday present, but yeah. This is actually just a few bucks cheaper, but it should be pretty easy to track this book down, like I said. But yeah, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode when I get a chance to do it. It will be episode 252 and Doubleshot number 184. Until then, see you there. Bye.